Hey, Tim, I got us tickets to the biggest event of the year, the New Year's Eve Mar-a-Lago party.
Oh, yeah, baby. That sounds slippery.
Now, who's that singing or rapping?
Oh, that's Vanilla Ice. Go figure.
His one-hit song. Aw.
Oh, that's sad.
Oh, look, there's Daddy Trump.
Oh, no, yeah. There he is. Sighting, I found Waldo.
I wonder if Stephen Miller's here.
Oh, I'll bet he is. He's slithering around somewhere in the pipes somewhere.
What about that other girl? What's her name?
Oh, Mar-a-Lago face. Christy Nome.
Oh, God.
Right? She's probably here for some work.
It's like we're partying with the fucking Nazis.
Ah, yeah.
The hell's going on?
It's a good question.
I'm glad I'm Italian. I'm not white.
You kind of are.
Why does it have to be the big chicken? Why does it have to be the big chicken?
Why do you have to say it like that? I was right, and you were racist.
It's Britney, bitch.
I still have a belief that Sasquatch is out there, but that doesn't make me crazy. And you give me that face, and this is my issue. You're a questionable person.
This is a podcast where Rick, a Generation Xer, and Tim, a millennial, come together and try to find answers to our changing world.
Break it down with Rick and Tim. All right.
Well, this is Break It Down with
Rick and Tim, here we are.
part 2 of our immigration big event podcast.
No, everything's falling apart. Everything's falling apart, Rick.
This is the second half of our big immigration podcast. And the last one, we talked about the historical parallels, where I think it's mirroring what happened in Germany, Nazi Germany. And you talked about what happened with 1945 with the internment camps of Japanese and how it was worse back then.
Yeah. I would say, I wouldn't necessarily say, here's the thing. You have to understand from whose perspective, because in this perspective, it's not worse for the Hispanic community, but it is better for the Asian community because they're not necessarily being vilified as much, but I'm sure they are in some degree, but definitely not being targeted.
At the end of the last podcast, you were talking about how what's happening with ICE doesn't affect us, yet a couple of days after we broadcast our podcast, we witnessed something on December 21st.
Right, and I want to be clear here. It didn't, when we say affect us, this is our immediate community. So again, like we could have just sat there and enjoyed ourselves and watched the show.
We were at McDonald's having lunch on a Sunday.
Right, and we have that privilege to see what was going on. And instead of that, just sitting around and doing anything, because we have a little bit of white privilege, or at least I like to flaunt mine, I guess you would say it, I decided to walk my ass out that McDonald's and go get up in their faces and such.
There he was crossing the busy street of Burnside here in Oregon.
Traffic was already stopped.
On one side. The other side, going north, wasn't stopped.
Sure.
And there he goes with his phone, and there I stayed inside McDonald's with my cocktail in hand and phone, documenting the whole thing, which you're seeing right now.
Yeah.
Okay, this is here on Burnside, outside of McDonald's and the car wash, across the street from Elmer's. And we have ICE blocking the street.
Ya, les están humillando porque están grabando.
You little bitch. Why? Tell me why you were able to stand in there with your cocktail and your phone and they weren't coming after you yet.
Well, because you were out there. You went quickly. You're the one that noticed it first.
Yes.
I was too enthralled with my French fries.
I didn't actually notice it first. There were some other people in the restaurant I think noticed it first.
Right.
And then we heard the kerfuffle and then we were like, oh my God, it's happening.
Right.
But there were some people out before us that were in McDonald's, and they got there before me. I got there at the tail end. I didn't really get much interaction with them.
You could have been sprayed because they did spray someone.
Those people that got there before us got sprayed.
Yes.
Exactly.
So it looked like there was about 5 vehicles involved, and there was a pickup truck where the driver was pulled out, and he was the only individual that was abducted.
But let's go back. Why were you able to just sit in the McDonald's and videotape from where you were?
Because my assistant went out and handled the grunt work for me.
You're missing the point.
Well, that's the point.
The point is that you get to sit in there because you're white and they're not coming after you. You don't have to worry.
Well, this year, but next year.
So instead of staying in the McDonald's, why don't you come on out with me next time and get pepper sprayed?
Besides, I had to do some investigative work inside that McDonald's. You forget, I talked to the manager and I asked them, had this happened before? And they said it happened at the pot shop across the way.
There you go. Investigative reporting. You're right.
Yes, that's right.
You're not really a frontline person.
I mean,
I wore a special shirt for this.
Here, touch my hands.
I don't want to touch your hands.
Just touch my hands. I'm not being gay. Touch my hands.
Oh my God,
they're soft.
Oh my, yeah.
So
you don't like to get your hands dirty.
No. Anyway,
I'm gonna wear this shirt.
It was very traumatizing and it was upsetting, and you absolutely feel helpless. Helpless. And this was Tim's second time documenting ICE in our community.
When you say you felt helpless, describe that to me, please. I'm serious.
There's nothing we can do. You can't call the police. The police freaking drove by.
Right. The police were sitting there, and I made eye contact with them as I was walking out into the middle of the street, because what are they going to do? I mean, I'm just going to make the scene more chaotic. That's my thing. That's what I can do. And that's what you can do. And that's what we all can do. And we should be doing that, because what the fuck are we doing sitting here watching these people get taken? Because here's the thing. Their own data says that they're not going after the worst criminals. Every time I talk to one of these MAGA peoples, they're just like, oh, they're going after the worst criminals. They're getting the worst. Their own data says 7% of their people that they're taking are violent criminals. So 7%. So out of 100 people, and we're talking about thousands of people that have been taken, 1,000 people, fuck, just that number, right? Add a 0 to it. So out of 100 people, right, 7 of them are violent crimes. That means 92 of them, 3 of them, 93 of them, math. 93 of them. Add a 0 to that. 930 of them out of 1,000 are just people who are part of our community and that maybe they have no charges.
And they're already paying taxes, and they're already paying Medicaid.
They're part of our community. It's insane.
Security. Yeah, it's nuts.
It's nuts balls. And so what could we do is gum up their system and make things chaotic.
Yeah, and document.
Right. And by the way, if you look at these people, they're not, I mean, part of the thing that's scary about it is that, these are the kids who are at home playing, kids. They're my age now, but they're still at home playing Call of Duty and shit by themselves. And so you don't know how volatile they're. And they gave them real guns and shit. And so you just don't know how crazy. Right now it's pepper spray, but when are they going to they've been shooting people.
Yeah, they've already shot people.
So it's nuts.
Questions being raised this afternoon about the TikToker from Los Angeles shot by an immigration agent. This was during an arrest back in October.
NBC4 just obtained new video today of that confrontation, but a warning, it may be disturbing for you to watch.
Hey! ¡Párate!
Over the weekend, a judge decided to drop the case against the man sitting in the car. He goes by Richard L.A.
And I did my part by tagging our local police department in all the posts I did on social media.
Right.
Never once heard from them.
Of course not. Of course not. But you know what? Some people are finally starting to stand up to them, and it's the kids, which is sad. I mean, we had that one kid in Beaverton that got up there and testified.
Oh, yeah. Here's the video.
Crazy. Yeah,
Check this out.
It's good. Nuts.
I just wanted to tell you guys and say that I really hope you guys do side with us and you guys really do hear what we're saying for you guys, because all of us here are actually trying to fight for what's right and fight for our rights. And I just want to tell you guys that I'm scared for my parents to walk out their house because I might not be able to say goodbye to them if they go to work. I might not ever be able to say bye or see them again if you guys don't side with us. And I'm scared because of it, because they fought so hard to come here and choose a life for their kids.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's nuts.
This brings it home on a more personal level. And on this episode and this installment on our immigration story, we're going to be talking about some of the national news headlines regarding different individuals that were abducted by ICE.
It is cold in your house, by the way.
The heater is on.
I know
and
it's on, but I want to put on this jacket.
And it is winter time.
It is winter. It's the dead of winter. It is. Ooh.
And we haven't had snow yet.
No, we haven't. It's just been cold. Balls cold.
You know, I could warm you up.
Nope. No, thank
You're
you.
not that cold yet.
Not that cold. Nope. When I have frostbite, I'll let you know.
Look at this gay shirt.
That is a Buc-ee's shirt. I have a
1985 Miami Vice.
I have a matching set of trunks.
Chicago has been in the headlines quite a bit with the National Guard and the ICE protests and the heavy ICE infiltration into black neighborhoods and zip tying children. You've heard all about that.
This is true.
In November 5th, immigrant agents from our ICE enforcement arrested Ms. Galliano, a daycare teacher. Diana Galliano was working, and the school somehow had to have let the ICE agents in. They have to have a warrant to come into the building, especially a public building.
They're like vampires. Somebody has to invite them in.
And or they could have forced themselves in.
That would be a situation, because I don't think they're allowed to do that yet.
And we could vilify them all day long and say they did that, but we don't know. We do know that she was pulled while she was working in front of children, and that's an issue. That's insane.
It takes us back to what was the kid's name?
Elian Gonzalez.
Elian Gonzalez. Oh my God, yeah, that it takes us back to that.
His father wanted him. Mm-hmm. The mother died trying to come to America on the boat. Mm-hmm. The boy survived. There were relatives living here in the United States, and it was just a big, ugly mess.
It was.
And then here's the famous photo of military with a gun drawn with the little boy scared.
Right? Just
traumatizing.
Oh, of course, yeah. And that's the thing. That's the thing that's messed up, is because all of these situations that we're going to learn about here this is why it hits so close to home. And this is what pisses me off about fucking Mar-a-Lago face, is all those people, all they care about is getting rid of all of the people they don't like. And when they do things like this that we're about to talk about, there's a whole community that has to take care of like those dependents that are dependent on these, people that are being snatched up. And it's tough because it wrecks people. It wrecks children.
Right.
Emotionally, how as an educator are any of us supposed to teach kids when they come into the classroom and like a relative has been taken by ICE and they're just like, what the fuck? It's a trauma, right? How do we help them? We're not trained to help them process that. And to be honest with you, I don't think that the administration cares. Why would they care?
Well, the Department of Homeland Security claimed that Diana Galliano
They wanted to detain her.
The Department of Homeland Security wanted to detain Diana Galliano because of a alleged traffic stop issue.
A traffic stop issue.
And that she and the driver allegedly refused to stop and then fled into the daycare and barricaded themselves, allegedly providing false identity information. But here's what witnesses have said. They dispute the DHS version. They say the agents entered the classrooms without a warrant.
Interesting.
Aggressively detained her at the school entrance and ignored staff who showed her valid work authorization documents.
This video captured the moment ICE agents dragged a pre-K teacher out of a daycare center on Chicago's North Side. She can be seen pleading with the agents as she's pushed up against a waiting sedan. At one point, she shouts in Spanish, "I have papers."
ICE agents followed a teacher into the facility without a warrant and abducted her in front of her students. This woman is a trusted, loved member of her community with a work permit.
Officials identified the woman as Diana Galeano, a Colombian national in the country since 2023 and seeking asylum. Children, teachers, and parents inside at the time of the arrest said they were traumatized by what they saw.
Here's what happened afterward. A federal judge later ruled that her detention without a bond hearing was unlawful, and she was released from custody. This was she was detained in Indiana.
In the simplest of terms, here's what happened. She was probably on her way to work or on the way somewhere, and she knows her work is there, something like that. The work is a place where you, like, if one thing is definitely sure, like, our place of work is a safe haven for our kids, for the most part. To the best that we can, protect them, we are not going to let ICE through those doors, right? It's just not going to happen. Or it will happen, but it's going to be painful for some of us. Like I'm going to get hurt. Like, I know that. I'm going to get, punched or maced or tased or beat to shit. It's going to happen. Because I'm not going to let them through my door. It's my classroom. What happened with the lady? She ran to her work.
Yes.
And the work was like, yeah, you're here. You're safe. You've crossed the finish line because they can't come in here. And these ICE people were probably like, oh my God, she went into a daycare. We got to go in there and get her. Fuck a warrant. We're just going to get her. This is a fucking daycare and there's kids in there. Right? And they probably just stormed the place, grabbed her and pulled her out. And there was like Rambo. And they're like, we're heroes. We saved the children. No, you fucked a bunch of kids up.
And ICE is also going after kids, teenagers. The next case I want to bring up hits a little bit closer to home. Christian Jimenez, a 17-year-old teenager.
That's right.
Was taken by ICE. And this was also in November. Gosh, November was a hot month for ICE.
Yeah, it was. Well, I think there was like a surge or something like that.
Yeah, he was grabbed when he was driving his father's car during high school lunch.
They just added another $100 million to the pot to try to train more members. That's cool. Anyway.
He was detained while he was driving his father's car during lunch near his school.
Hundreds of protesters have lined Adams Street here in McMinnville, expressing their outrage at the recent ICE arrests in Yamhill County.
It is terrifying our children.
It's unacceptable. It happened here. It can happen anywhere.
McMinnville's superintendent of schools confirming a high school student was taken by immigration agents yesterday while the student was off campus during the lunch period.
And when they start here locally grabbing children out of the parking lots and breaking windows and having them disappear where their parents don't even know where they're at, that is a crime. That's horrible. I can't even imagine.
This poor teenager was taken to an ICE facility but was released the same day. The family says that ICE may attempt to charge him with interference or obstruction of an investigation.
Wait, what? Roll that back.
Yeah, that's what it says here. And why it matters. This is one of the clearest recent examples of ICE detaining someone who claims to be and appears to be a U.S. citizen. There's no due process.
No, because we're in a state of war. ICE is ramping up again. And apparently, here's the other thing. They're going, it's kind of crazy, is they're going after a lot of these young kids. They're very impressionable. All of the...
to be employees.
To be employees, is that what they call it?
Or that's what they're, to work for them. With their propaganda posters. That's what you're talking about, correct?
Well,
join ICE, protect the homeland.
Yeah, and they're going, like, the MAGA movement, the Trump movement, is starting to, it's gearing towards these younger, like, kids. It's crazy. There's a huge young crowd that's going towards MAGA. But,
the Charlie Kirk crowd.
That's the one, what's his network that it was?
Turning Point
USA. The Turning Point USA crowd. Yeah. It's the
Nick Fuentes.
I was reading a ridiculous thing. Apparently this is the thing. There is a whole culture around guys taking pictures with girls and how you have to have the right slant. Like, if you lean in towards the girl, it shows that, like, she's in charge. So you got to, like, be straight up and, like, macho and have the girl leaning in towards you in all your photos. It's hilarious. It's taking these boys and teaching them that you have to be hypercritical of your own masculinity, which is sad because look at me. I have 2 kids, right? So you don't got to be macho to get some. Anyway, I'm just saying, it's ridiculous.
Then there's Carlos Guerra Leon. He was an 18-year-old from Spring Valley, New York, and he came to the United States from Guatemala when he was 10 years old. He was granted special immigrant juvenile status, a Humanitarian Protection for Kids Act who survived abuse, neglect, or abandonment. That status came with deferred action, which means he shouldn't have been deportable or detained in ordinary circumstances. And his arrest and detention, it happened in August. ICE agents reportedly arrested Guerra Leon without a warrant while he was on his way to work. They sent him to a detention center in Louisiana. Sound familiar? Mm-hmm. And let's see what happened here. His legal status was ignored, despite his valid special immigrant juvenile status, deferred action protections. ICE held him, showing how the administration is detaining even those with lawful protection.
Yeah.
An 18-year-old Guatemalan citizen with special immigrant juvenile status was released from Jackson Parish Correctional Center in Louisiana after a federal judge ruled his detention unlawful. Carlos Guerra Leon spent nearly 3 months in immigration detention despite having legal right to live and work in the United States until December 2026. Judge Terry Doughty determined Immigration and Customs Enforcement could not remove Guerra Leon while his deferred action status remains in effect. The judge ordered his immediate release, though detention center staff initially refused to comply outside business hours, prompting attorneys to file a contempt motion. Guerra Leon, who came to the country at age 10 after suffering parental abandonment, was arrested without a warrant in August while going to work in New York.
Well, because we've seen the breakdown of the, what you may call it, the checks and balances. And because, again, we're in the wartime, according to the Trump administration, we can act however we want because you have wartime powers.
Yep, and they're ignoring the law. Mm-hmm. This case with Carlos, it exposes another breakdown of legal protections, and it shows how arbitrary and unchecked ICE power has become, and it shows that there's no protection for at-risk youth, and it shows how legal victories can be hollow. The next person I want to talk about that was detained by ICE is none other than the infamous Kilmar Abrego Garcia. Now, who is this guy? I did some digging. He's a El Salvadorian national and Maryland construction worker, and he was previously deported in 2019 despite concerns about gang violence and his fear of persecution in El Salvador. He successfully sued to return under a later court ruling, only to be re-detained in 2025 under the Trump administration's ramped-up deportation efforts. Now, Tim, why was his case becoming so infamous?
Oh, it was becoming infamous because they took him and basically disappeared him.
Right. Over a gang registry.
Over a gang registry, which was, by the way, he was put on that gang registry because an informant said that he was a gang member, and we don't know who that informant was. They just said it was a trusted informant.
And it's a bad gang. It's MS-13. There's this photo I want to show you. It's our Lord and Savior Donald J. Christ holding a photo of Kilmar Albrego's knuckles. Mm-hmm. And it's got a marijuana leaf, a smiley face, looks like a dagger and a skull. And someone photoshopped MS-13 over showing what those imagery are supposed to represent.
Right.
Does Trump know what he's talking about, or is he just saying whatever he wants to say because he can do that?
Well, I mean, if you look at it, theoretically speaking, those symbols, if you take away the letters, and this is what pissed people off because I honestly don't understand, because the logic is there. Yes, gang members use symbolism and stuff like that, but also you have to remember who this person was, okay? So let's back up, because I know plenty of people who have tattoos, some of them gang tattoos, and they're no longer in the gangs. He was 16 when he came over here. He might have had these tattoos already. Even so, he might have still been in it when he came over here, and he needs to get out. There's a process. But while you're in it, or if he was in it at some point, he might have had to deal with it. Because I deal with kiddos who grow up in a gang world, and they are part of a gang. And part of their thing is They want to get their education so they can get the hell out of the gang, right? And so when you look at a lot of these people, they're coming out of these violent places where they were part of gangs, right? And yeah, you can see some of these tattoos, sure. But all the other things, again, what other things are they going off of? Those tattoos, the hat. He's wearing a Chicago Bulls hat, a black one, which supposedly is gang memorabilia or whatever they call it, gang affiliation. There's a jacket that he was wearing that they said was affiliation, but these are all common things. And like I got people who still, are part of that culture, but they're not involved in gang stuff, like activity.
For just conjecture, marijuana, smiley face, a dagger.
Marijuana starts with an M. Smiley face starts with an S.
Yeah, the dagger.
The dagger's a 1.
Represents and the death.
And the death is a
death
3.
comes in threes. So I can see why someone could imply that, but that is not a universal code for MS-13.
Okay, let's just back up there because based on that, yes, that is MS-13.
You can imply that.
I can
you can't
imply
say
that.
it is, but you can say it looks like it. I mean, it's what makes sense to me. But
I think what people also were like saying was, look, Trump was saying he literally has MS-13. Look, it's right there. And people were saying, no, that was imposed by a computer, obviously. But no, but if you look at his tattoos, yes, imagery is everything in that world, and that is MS-13. Or it could be. But that doesn't necessarily mean that he is still part of the gang or that he's still in it.
now what they're trying to currently get him on is human trafficking.
Okay, so let's go back to that incident because that's very important. So first of all, he comes to this country at age 17 in like, I don't know what year, but it might have been like 2012 or something, maybe earlier than that. But he is given asylum because, or a deferred action on his decision and given the protected status not to go back to El Salvador where he came from because he probably came out of the gang life there and he came into this country to get out of the gang life. And that's one of those stick in the mud situations. Maybe he had a gang past. Sure. A lot of people here do. It's part of the immigration process. Let's go back in history. Watch the movie Gangs in New York. White people gangs. I believe the American government shot cannons into New York City. It was crazy. Other things. So basically they're going on circumstantial evidence. You're right. You can't point to that and say, though, that you are in a gang right now because you have gang tattoos. That's not fair. And you can't point to him and say you are 100% in a gang. It's just all this stuff is not going to hold up in court. And that's the problem with the government's argument against Kilmar Abrego Garcia is he is all circumstantial. So in 2002, he was driving a van and he as the driver and he had 8 passengers in it.
2002?
2022. In 2022. He was driving, I believe, from like Texas to Tennessee or something, a long distance for a construction job is what he said. And he was pulled over by the Tennessee, I believe, like state police or something like that. And they asked him questions and he gave them questions and kind of gave them the runaround because, sure, he doesn't like cops. I get it. They weren't able to get him on anything. There was nothing. There was nothing there. All they said was these people, there's a lot of people in the van. They don't have a lot of luggage. We can't really cite them on anything. And we can't take the people. We can't do anything. We're going to let them go. And so all that is what the government is saying is the human trafficking. There's no, and we can look at if you look at the government website, there is a brief thing that explains all of this. And it's all circumstantial. All of it is exactly what I just told you. They pulled him over. There were 8 passengers in his van. They all registered to his address that he registered at home. He said the van belonged to his boss and they were headed to a construction job. And they were like, well, there's not a lot of luggage. That's weird. Well, when you're traveling with a lot of people, you don't have a lot of space. So they probably didn't take a lot of luggage or they probably put it in another van or something to take it there. So, I mean, there's all sorts of different possibilities. You can't say definitively that it was trafficking people. So.
But if Trump says it is, it is.
Right. And that's the question is, will it hold up in court? And so.
I don't think it will.
It hasn't already, I don't think. But what the case is coming to now is in January. So let's back up.
The 28th.
That is the
22nd. What day was it?
The 29th.
Oh, 29th.
So January 29th. So what has happened then is ICE deported him to CCOT, which is crazy.
In El Salvador.
In El Salvador, which he wasn't supposed to go to. But then when they were ordered to bring him back, and it was crazy because, and you're going to have to put it's crazy on the next one, because they went down there to show that he's being treated well, and they showed him by the pool with a margarita and all that bullshit. And yeah, this whole thing where they met with him, and it was just an insane situation. Who is that? I don't even know. But yeah, so they stayed.
That's the interview you're talking about.
Yeah, the interview where they interviewed him, and they were sitting down with the president of El Salvador, and they were talking, and they had margaritas that were kind of a little bit drank, so it looked like they were actually enjoying them. It was all staged. It was crazy. But then they were forced to bring him back. And then when they brought him back, they arrested him again, didn't they? Mm-hmm. Like immediately. And then they were ordered to release him because, again, they don't have any actual evidence of anything.
Except Trump's words and hearsay.
And
alleged accusations.
That's the thing, because Trump's words, none of it is evidence. It's all heavily circumstantial. And it makes none of it's going to hold him in court. So right before Christmas, they were like, we're going to get him. And then the courts are like, no, you can't arrest him through the holidays, which was kind of weird. And now we've got a court hearing set up because here's the crazy part. There's a statute of limitations on things. Now, this incident happened in 2022, so it's still within like the 5-year statute of limitations. So I think they've got to like 2027 to charge him with human trafficking, right? But what happened is I don't think this human trafficking thing really came to light until like they had to bring him back, and they dug through his past and were like, here's something, we can lean on this. He was human trafficking people. They're going to have to find out who these people are. They're going to have to do all sorts of investigating. Who knows what they're going to uncover. But at the end of the day, they don't have any evidence on him yet. They're not allowed to take him back into custody, and they're actually not allowed to really try him if it's vindictive. So the judge in this case is going to review whether or not the government is being vindictive or not.
Which it seems like it is.
Which it seems like it is.
You know who the biggest human trafficker I think is the greatest hero of all time?
Human trafficker, greatest hero.
Mm-hmm.
Who?
Harriet Tubman.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, the road. Underground Railroad.
Yeah.
That was a good Harriet Tubman plug. There you go.
All this talk about tattoos and gangs
So that's where we are with the Kilmar Abrego Garcia thing. And what else we got? What else you got, Rick?
Now it's time to Let's Quiz Tim.
Okay.
I'm going to show you a tattoo. And this Let's Quiz Tim topic is gang tattoos.
Oh, I'm terrible at these.
What is this one? It's got 1488 on his forehead.
I don't know. It looks white supremacy.
Yes.
88 is like a Heil Hitler.
Yes. Yep, you got that. Yep, that is a white supremacist. Put that one down. Face down, that we don't get it mixed up. And this one is cobwebs. What does that mean?
Spider of some type.
What is the symbolism? What is it associated with spiders? What do spiders do?
They spin webs. They catch flies. They kill their spouse after having sex.
The tattoo is commonly found on the elbow, signifying sitting around for a long time. You've been in a while. You got cobwebs.
Oh, it's a prison tat?
Mm-hmm.
There you go. Got that one wrong.
All righty. This one, the teardrop.
The teardrop. That's how many people you've killed.
Yes. The 5-point crown. What is that?
Oh, kings. What's the...
This is a gang tat.
Yeah. The California people.
It's actually based out of Chicago.
Chicago. Whatever. I don't know.
Latin Kings
Latin
gang.
Kings. Yeah, I had some students who really liked that.
Now, this is a prison tattoo. The 3 dots.
The 3 dots.
Yes. It's not associated with any particular gang.
It's not.
But it means something.
I want to say it's... What is the 3 dots? I totally forgot what the 3 dots are. There's a murderer.
No.
No.
Mi vida loca. My crazy life.
Oh, my crazy. Is that what it is? I'm sure it's something along those lines.
Now, this one differs greatly from the last one. These are 5 dots on a hand.
I don't know.
It's not a gang. Prison. Have you seen that before?
No.
The 5 dots represent time done in prison. Also known as a quincunx, if I'm saying that right. Quincunx. Quincunx.
Quinix? I don't know.
Quincunx?
No idea.
The 4 dots represent the 4 walls, and the 5th dot on the inside representing the prisoner.
Maybe
so that's you right there.
Maybe we should stop breaking the wall.
Right? Okay. Now, this one's going to be a hard one for you.
Okay.
Is it a prison tat or a gang tat? Now, let's have Donald Trump look at this. Maybe he can help us with his Photoshop abilities. See, that's the actual MS-13 tat.
There you go. Well, there's lots of different variations of it.
Yeah.
It's not a stencil they'll pass around.
Now, this one. What tattoo is this one about?
Oh, that's us, and that's awful. I have a better looking body than that. That's disgusting. Oh. I look like I'm on meth. That's me as an addict.
It's Tim in the future living in Portland.
Breaking it down. That is awful. All right. Let's trigger Rictor.
Yay. Let's see if he can.
This one's it's going to be a weird trigger because I feel it's going to be a slow burn. Like you'll get triggered as we talk about it.
Okay. I tried getting this out of him earlier, and he wouldn't tell me.
Okay, so USPS. There was a change to the USPS. There was a change to the United States Postal Service that says that when you drop off your mail, it will not be postmarked when you drop it off. It will be postmarked whenever the mail gets to processing it. And that is a problem for what?
Voting.
Yes.
So they can cheat.
Exactly. This went into effect.
Oh.
What does Oregon use to vote?
Mail-in.
Mail-in voting. One of the things is if you get your ballot in and it's postmarked by the right date, then it counts. So now the question is, what are they going to do in the election? Are they going to try to gum up and stop mail processing so that when people put their ballot in the mail, it doesn't get processed in time? And any ballot that's in the mail that hasn't been processed is void? How many votes are they going to cheat out? Because that's cheating.
Mm-hmm.
Why would you break a system like this? Well, because they don't want to win, or they don't want to lose. They don't want people to win. Humanity, because they want to keep the power. Anyway, what are your thoughts?
I think it's futile. I think the courts are going to stop that from happening.
You think so?
Yes.
How?
Because people can put their ballot in and mail it the day of the election.
How are they going to stop that? Because technically he gets to choose the policies and how they run. You can say we don't have to postmark things, until they're
perhaps
processed.
States can start early voting sooner.
Maybe.
Due to the gerrymandering of the election and trying to stop votes from being counted. Okay, we'll have the election begin in October.
What about could they do that? Would that be legal? What about all the voters who are absentees.
And those serving in the military.
And those serving in the military. How are they going to vote?
Yeah, Trump is going to steal the election. Attempt to, at least, again. And this isn't going to set me off as a trigger, so you failed. Because I've made peace with the fact that there's not going to be an election in 4 years. I keep telling you motherfuckers this. There's not going to be an election. If he is still alive, come 2020, whatever. I mean, I know it's the New Year's Day, New Year's and all that, and I don't even know what year it is. It's all a freaking blur. It's not going to be an election.
Here's another one. Do you think that teaching is a professional profession?
Absolutely it is. But we're not paid as professionals, which is also very upsetting. So fuck it all.
There we go. I triggered him.
You did. But not because of not being considered professional.
The first one,
we're not being paid.
No, that's it. And, I mean, there is a brain drain happening already. Look at Arizona, right? They don't pay their teachers anywhere near enough to live. It's insane.
And Georgia and all those red
all
states.
those other states. And here's the stupid reality is that, like, we don't hold kids back anymore because we don't challenge the kids to meet the expectation. That's one thing that has changed from when I was a kid. Like, if you weren't on grade level, sorry, kiddo, you're going back to the grade level that you're at for those lessons. And it kind of encourages you to get going.
But then if you're not at school for 10 days, you're dropped.
Right.
Automatically.
Well, and we have a chronic, like, absenteeism. I made a new word. It was kind of a sexy word. Anyway, absenteeism. And if you think about it, like I tell my kids this, because in our line of work, kids are a lot of kids have a habit of missing at least one day a week, right? And if you miss one day a week, that is a lot of school you're missing. You're like 2 months behind everybody else by the end of the year. Think about that as a race.
Yeah.
Right? Education's a race to see who can get the furthest in their education, who can learn the most and apply the most knowledge and earn the most money and all that bullshit. And some people are just handicapping themselves, being like, I don't want to go to work or I don't want to go to school on Wednesdays. So I'm just not. So I'm going to be sad. Anyway.
And now it's time to Let's Trigger Tim.
Oh boy, here we go.
This is a first, but this is something I want to hear your opinion on.
Okay.
I'm going to play this video, and I want your response.
Okay.
I don't want to hear a teacher say, I have students who refuse to learn. My response is, I see a teacher who refuses to figure out how to get them to learn. Yeah, it takes more effort. Yeah, that's hard. But is anything in life worth achieving that isn't itself hard?
Here's my take on that, because I hear what he's saying, and that would be great. That would be fantastic. It would be a true statement if we had the resources to approach all these students from all the angles that we want to. But we don't, and that's the problem. Because we have standardized education. We've got no support behaviorally, because here's the thing, like I got a kid who comes in, starts flipping over desks. My attention's on the kid who's flipping over desks. I can't go over to little quiet Susie and be like, how do you want to learn, little Susie? I got to focus on this kid who's about ready to hit another kid over the head with a stapler. It's overwhelming for teachers because there's no room for us to do what he said he wants us to do, right? Because when we're not trying to figure out the barriers to education, we don't have the time to figure out how to actually educate. And that's what I think he's missing. He's missing the getting the kids to the point where they can learn. Because, like, I got a kid who's coming in, for example, like, he's going through a drug detox.
And he's asleep.
And then on top of that, he's trying to find a new medication to deal with his issues, because this is not like a drug abuse thing. This is like a mental health thing. And he can't regulate his brain in a way that gets him to a point where he needs to learn. So my thing is to present him with things, but also to allow him the space to heal and then get to a space where he can learn. Now, is he going to be as successful as the other kids and be able to do the standardized tests like them? No. But is he going to make some progress? Sure. But is he going to make the progress, I guess, that other people are going to say? I don't know. And I think that's probably part of the problem is that Neil deGrasse Tyson is assuming that like maybe there is no metric to learning, and that we as teachers have the freedom to go in and allow our students the freedom to learn and give them the tools to learn that we have access to and all those wonderful things. He works in the fucking space field. There's money there. There's entitlement. There's all sorts of things that you have. I went to NASA one time, Houston, and I walked through that upper thing and I looked down and I saw kids in that area like working at NASA. And I was like, God damn, if I could bring my classroom of poor kids to this place, it would be amazing. That takes me back because fuck Trump. And let me tell you why. Because we had that. I worked at a low-income school and we went down to the Army or Air Force or whatever, the Air National Guard base with all the F-15s, and they had a lab. They had tools. They had 3D printers. They had computers that they took our students to, and they allowed them to play with all those things and do projects. And it was like a 6 field trip day thing. And when Trump came into office in 2016, that like the next day they were like, fuck that shit. Get those poor kids out of there. It was awful. It was sad. They took that away so quick.
Well, Neil deGrasse Tyson, he's a university professor.
Fuck him.
And he's also an elitist.
And that's the thing. Again, he assumes that we have the tools to do this. We're dealing with so much trauma. Neil, get down in the trenches and see what a teaching really is, because you have no idea. It'd be like me jumping into a spaceship and going, I can fly this bitch. We're going to Mars. Elon, hop in.
I think I successfully triggered Tim.
I think you did.
For your first trigger.
Whatever.
All right, back to our hot topics of the day regarding immigration. There has been a recent win. Yesterday, the Supreme Court gave Donald Trump the middle finger and said, fuck you, you're not allowed to send the National Guard to Los Angeles and Chicago and Portland. It was a huge win.
He said, I'll be back.
Yes.
When crime gets out of control, inevitably.
Yes. That's a win. With all these people that are being detained by ICE, who profits off of them?
Oh, that's easy. That's the private prisons. Okay, so you gave me these notes, and these are the things that we've been following for a while. I think we talked about this early on when this was about to happen. Before this happened, I said all these private prisons are getting really excited. It's private companies benefiting from taxpayer dollars, because who's paying these private companies to house these people other than the United States taxpayer? It's really that easy. It's the dumbest thing ever. So these private prisons, mind you, the law says that we're not supposed to punish people punitively because it's a civil matter, which is insane, right? You didn't pay your taxes, you go to jail, prison. It's not a violent crime. They shouldn't be punished in a jail cell. But private prisons, again, they're going to provide as little as possible so they can keep all their money.
I heard a rumor.
Taxpayer money, that's us. We're paying them.
I heard a rumor, but it makes sense to me that if you are detained as an undocumented immigrant or whichever, if you need to make a phone call and you don't have any money on you, you have to do work and you get paid $1 a day, and the phone call costs $5.
Oh, that's fun.
So I don't know if they're doing some kind of work in these detention centers. I have no idea.
That sounds highly illegal, but I'm sure that they're probably going to find a way around that because America and money. And in the prison system, that's another issue. Like, we have them working and we pay them pennies.
I'm going to ask you this question seriously. We've talked about it briefly before in the last podcast. My fear is that after the undocumented immigrants have been rounded up, kidnapped, or those have left on their own volition, they're paying them $3,000, I hear, to leave on their own terms. Did you hear that?
Yeah, they increased the amount.
Where's all this money coming from? Anyway,
us, we're paying it to taxpayers. Woo! Tariffs.
Who's next? ICE agents and ICE employees, they have a job. So what's going to be their job next year? What happens when there's no more undocumented immigrants to go after? Well, there's only so many.
Yeah.
Who's next? And my fear is going to be people like me who are gay or trans.
So. Yeah.
Because once the Supreme Court if they give Trump the right to decide who's an American or not, he could say, I'm not American because I'm a homosexual. So let's say this is what they're going to do. They're going to protect the nuclear family, Project 2025, Project Esther. Trump has been given permission by the Supreme Court to decide who's an American, who's not, and all transsexuals are no longer American.
Right. We've already gone to the meritocracy.
So
right?
what happened?
Taking away the DEI stuff and all that stuff.
So then, where would they put people that are deemed not American anymore?
Australia. No, they'll send you to some other place. I don't know. They'll send you to some other place.
Another country.
Yeah.
In a prison.
Probably some place that's not very friendly to the LGBTQ community.
So CCOT, Nigeria, Libya, those countries that are going to be housing.
Or they'll chemically they'll do what they used to do in the past and chemically castrate you. I'll use that old-timey voice to say that. Haven't you ever watched The Imitation Game?
Yeah.
See how that ended?
As my friend, should I be concerned? Or am I being like, the sky is falling?
No, you should definitely be concerned.
So you can find Tim on Twitter /X. What's it called? At Tim Breaks It Down?
At Tim Breaks It Down. Oh, that was terrible. My nose was plugged. At Tim Breaks It Down.
And you can follow me on Threads and Blue Sky and Twitter /X, Rictor_Riolo. Be sure to subscribe and follow us for more. You can hear us wherever you get your podcasts. Perhaps someday when I'm taken by ICE, you'll have these podcasts to watch and say, that was my friend Rick. Before they took him away and killed him.
Yeah.
He was right all along.
Yeah.
I hope I'm wrong. I hope I'm wrong.
We all hope we're wrong, but we just, right now, we haven't even reached a year.
No.
We're still
the best is yet to come.
Oh my God.
Oh my God. Shit. I know what the next topic should be.
What's the next topic?
Everything the CDC is doing to destroy.
Oh, that's right. We're bringing all the stuff back.
Yeah, measles is rising. HIV is rising. No more cancer research in children. Things like that.
No more cancer research in children? Why? Why is that?
RFK Jr. Yeah, we should talk about
that. Answer nothing like that.
That would be a good topic. What do you think?
I just made fun of the way he talks, and that's mean.
There's a worm in my brain. That was pretty good, actually.
That was.
I can't do Trump, but he can do Trump. We were at our employee party, and we were playing Cards Against Humanity, and you did a Trump impression.
I did.
Over and over again, because of Cards Against Humanity, you got to read your card.
And we were playing with like 12 people. So
and to do it.
A lot.
Do it. You got to do it.
I don't even remember what it was.
The rapists. Whatever.
That's the only part you remember. If you can find it, I'll say it. They're bringing drugs. They're bringing crime. They're rapists. And some, I assume, are very good people.
It was so funny.
This is CNN Breaking News.
Oh my God, what now?
Holy Mother of God, we just invaded Venezuela.
Uh-oh.
President Trump believes in you. He emancipates and lifts you up to live your American dream. You are capable. You are qualified. You are powerful, and you have the ability to choose your life and determine your destiny. The best is yet to come.